Hello class, welcome Teacher Clement YouTube channel. Before we begin, kindly like this video and share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It is so great to have you all join me today. We have a really crucial lesson ahead of us. We're going to be unpacking drug abuse, looking closely at its causes, its effects, and exactly how we can prevent it.
Your support through liking, sharing, and subscribing really helps us keep learning and growing together as a class, ensuring you never miss out on any of our explainers. Okay, let's take a quick look at our lesson blueprint for today. We'll start by truly understanding what drug abuse is. Then, we'll look at the sources of these drugs and why people abuse them. After that, we'll cover the effects, how to prevent it, and finally, we'll wrap up with a quick 5-question class evaluation quiz to see what you've learned. Right, let's jump directly into Section 1, Understanding Drug Abuse. So what exactly is drug abuse? Well, simply put, it's the wrong or excessive use of drugs without a doctor's instruction or using them for non-medical purposes. What does that actually look like in real life? Think about it like this. Taking painkillers when you aren't even in pain, just because you want to feel a temporary high, or maybe deciding to take a pill that was prescribed to someone else. That right there, that is the exact moment a medicine stops being a cure and starts becoming a real danger to your body and your mind. Let's make sure we clearly distinguish between proper medical use and drug abuse. Proper use is all about healing, strictly under a doctor's orders. Drug abuse, on the other hand, is that excessive use for a dangerous high. It's kind of like a hammer. A hammer is an incredibly useful tool, right? It helps build a strong, beautiful house when you carefully follow an architect's blueprint. But that exact same hammer, it will shatter windows and tear down walls if you just start swinging it around recklessly. Proper instruction and the right intention, they literally make all the difference. Now, you might be surprised by how common some of these substances are in our everyday environment. They range from legal but restricted things like alcohol and tobacco, all the way to strictly illegal substances like Indian hemp, which you might know as marijuana, cocaine, and heroin. We also see a lot of abuse with medical syrups and pills like codeine and tramadol. These things might look totally different from one another, but they all share one scary trait, the potential for severe addiction. Moving on to Section 2, Sources of Abused Drugs. Let's look at where these are actually coming from. First up, we've got the small-scale sources. We're talking about hawkers selling right on the side of the road, bustling bus stations, pharmaceutical stores that bend the rules, beer parlors, clubhouses, and criminal dens. You know, these sources are especially dangerous because they just blend right into our daily lives. They make drugs incredibly easy to access right in our own neighborhoods, and they often target young people who are just going about their normal day. It basically brings the danger right to our doorstep. But we have to contrast those everyday community sources with the massive, large-scale operations. These are the suppliers moving drugs in absolute bulk. We're talking about unregulated drug manufacturers, compromised hospitals and clinics, and powerful drug barons who control the illegal trade. These large-scale suppliers, they are the root of the whole problem. They manufacture and smuggle massive amounts of these substances, which then trickle down to feed those small-scale hawkers on the streets. It creates this huge, devastating supply chain of harm. Okay, let's shift to Section 3, Why People Abuse Drugs. Let's unpack the causes and factors. So, why do people actually do it? Well, there are complex social and personal pressures that push folks toward these substances. Take peer pressure, for example. It is incredibly powerful. It plays on that fear of being left out, convincing someone to try something dangerous just so they fit in with the crowd. Then you've got the media, which often glamorizes drug use and completely ignores the terrible consequences. And personal factors are just as strong. Sometimes it's just plain curiosity, a lack of parental supervision, or struggling with low self-esteem. Some people even turn to drugs just to overcome being super shy in social situations, or because they're desperately looking for a temporary escape from their daily problems. Actually, I want to pause our lesson right here for a second. How do you currently handle your stress and depression? Seriously, think about it, because stress is a huge trigger for drug abuse. I want you to reflect deeply on your own stress management habits. When you're feeling totally overwhelmed with schoolwork or life stuff, what do? Do you talk to a trusted teacher? Do you go for a walk or listen to your favorite music? Building strong, healthy ways to cope right now is exactly what prevents us from turning to harmful, deceptive substances later on. That brings us to Section 4, the effects of drug abuse, the physical, social, and mental consequences. The destruction caused by drug abuse literally impacts every single part of a person's life.
If we look at the physical side, it leads to severe brain and organ damage, completely wrecks the immune system, and puts a person at a much higher risk for life-threatening diseases. The social toll? It's just as bad. It severely drops academic performance, pushes promising young people into crime, and shatters the trust of closest friends and family. And internally, the emotional and mental effects are probably the darkest part. It traps people in deep depression, triggers intense anxiety, and creates this vicious cycle of physical addiction, where their body feels like it literally cannot survive without the substance.
Let's pivot to Section 5, How to Prevent Abuse. Let's talk about some proactive solutions. The good news is you absolutely have the power to protect yourself. Think of these prevention steps as your personal armor. First and foremost, just firmly say no to drugs. Remember what we said about peer pressure? True friends are never going to force you into a dangerous situation. Choose positive friends who build you up. Always seek advice from your parents or teachers when you're struggling, whether it's with your mental health or your grades. Fill your free time with positive stuff. Play sports, read a good book. Leave absolutely no room in your schedule for bad habits. Support public education about these dangers, and always follow strict medical instructions when a doctor gives you a prescription. All right, class, we've reached Section 6, Class Evaluation Quiz. Let's see what you've learned.
Question 1. What is the definition of drug abuse? I'll give you a moment to think back to the very beginning of our lesson. Think about what we said regarding doctors, proper instructions, and the intention behind taking a pill. Got your answer ready? Okay, question 2. Can you name 2 large-scale sources of drugs? Let's test that memory. Think back to those massive operations we discussed, the suppliers moving bulk quantities across borders long before they hit the streets. Where did those come from? Moving on to question 3. Name 1 emotional or mental effect of drug abuse. Focus in on that internal psychological damage we looked at. What actually happens to someone's mind and emotional stability when they get trapped in that cycle? Question 4. How can peer pressure contribute to drug abuse? I want you to really evaluate how your social circles, the desire to fit in with your classmates, and that fear of missing out can dangerously impact the choices you make. And finally, question 5. What are 2 positive activities you can do to prevent drug abuse? Think back to those healthy stress management habits we talked about. What are some constructive ways to keep your mind and body active and safe? Go ahead and review your answers in your head and reflect on everything we unpacked today. Will you choose your bright future or a dangerous temporary escape? That choice is entirely in your hands. But remember, the blueprint for a healthy life requires careful planning and positive habits. Thank you so much for paying attention in class today. Stay focused, make good choices, and keep learning.
If you have learned something great today, please click in the subscribe button. Like, share to others. Thank you.